Okay.
Welcome back YouTube, we have Ahmed again from In-Depth Tech Reviews, and finally Android 12 is here. This update will completely change your Android phone, and I have it here installed on my Pixel 5 to show you each and every new change. And I'm gonna compare it against Android 11 to clearly see the differences between them. So without further ado, let's jump in. Let's start with the lock screen and the always on display. The most obvious change is the huge clock located at the center if there isn't any notifications. The padlock icon is now at the bottom, the date and the other info moved towards the top left corner, and they are stacked on top of each other instead of being next to each other like before. The lock screen text now shows at the very bottom along with the new lock screen shortcuts. The first one will give you a quick access to your smart home controls, and the second one is for Google Pay cards, but it requires unlocking your device for payment. You can choose to disable any of them under Settings, Display, Lock Screen, then you will find the Show Wallet and Show Device Controls toggles. When it comes to the keypad lock, it's different too. It has circular buttons, solid background, Material U support, the buttons briefly change to rounded squares when you tap on them, and the emergency call button is slightly taller and narrower with a fill color. And if you use a pattern instead, the input space is now taller with bigger dots, much thicker lines while swiping, and a new animation. And if you have notifications waiting for you, the lock screen will look different. First, the clock will become smaller and moves to the top left corner instead of sticking to the center like in Android 11. The notifications also moved towards the top to take advantage of the extra space, and they are narrower with more rounded corners. You will also notice the space between the conversations and all other types of notifications is now bigger. When it comes to the always on display, it will match whatever we saw on the lock screen but with a thinner font for the clock. Also, the lock screen got 3 new animations. When you tap, it will start from the bottom center of the screen towards the top and back when it times out. Pressing the power button will start and end the animation from where the button is physically located, and the same will happen when using the fingerprint. It will start from where the sensor is physically located in the device. Now let's talk about the most exciting feature in Android 12, which is Material U. It will recolor pretty much everything in the OS to match your wallpaper colors, which will give you a fresh new look every now and then. This includes your notifications shade, Gboard, Google Apps, Google Assistant, widgets, and much more. Material U also introduced new widget shapes that were never seen before, bigger buttons, font and toggles, more rounded text input fields, new date and time picker, and more. So this will take us to the new Wallpaper and the Style app to see how we can control the look of Android 12. The Wallpaper and the Style app looks totally different now. You will see a preview of your lock and home screen without the need to swipe between them like before. When you go inside, the home and lock screen tabs got replaced with 2 buttons at the bottom of the screen. The X button is now gone and got replaced with a back arrow at the top left corner. The wallpaper info card looks different, and the button will be highlighted with a pill-shaped fill color. Also, the full screen button now acts differently. Previously, it's used to lock the wallpaper in place, while in Android 12, it takes you to a full screen view with a button to hide or unhide the UI preview, reposition your wallpaper, and a set wallpaper button to apply your changes. You can do the same from the previous page too if you want. Android 12 also got a better looking card for setting the wallpaper. Back to the main page, and now the wallpaper categories got its own page that you can access by using the change wallpaper button, and some categories use different shapes and sizes. When you go inside any of the live wallpaper categories, the ones that you don't have will show a small download button, which wasn't the case before, and the title is different too. Now let's talk about the most exciting part, which is the colors. When you set a wallpaper, Android 12 will automatically create different color palettes to match your wallpaper. They can reach up to 4 based on which one you have, and all of them will be listed under the wallpaper colors section. When you choose a palette, you will immediately see how it looks on your lock and home screens. The system will automatically mix and match between different accent colors throughout the OS. But if you want one unified color, or if you don't like the automatically created ones, you can choose between 4 different basic colors. The only downside, they are only 4. In contrast, Android 11 have 14. Not only this, but the whole style tab has been removed, so we no longer have the ability to modify the font, icon pack, or icon shapes. But there is a new feature in Android 12 called themed icons. It will give you outlined app icons with a solid background color to match your device accent color, but only Google apps support the feature for now. So hopefully third-party apps will support it too to get a more unified experience. Next, the grid page got some visual tweaks in addition to a new 4x5 size, and when you make a change it will show you a new apply button instead of the tick and the X buttons. The wallpaper and the style app also got a new dark theme toggle to see how your phone will look like before leaving the app. I got a lot of questions asking if Material You support live wallpapers, and the answer is yes. It works with Pixel Live wallpapers and third-party as well. And finally, if your phone is set to one of the wallpaper color palettes, your widgets will change their colors based on where you place them on your home screen. So that's pretty much it when it comes to the wallpaper and the style app. Now let's move on to the home screen. The home screen got a lot of design changes, and the first one is in the app shortcuts. Now on Android 12 it looks more rounded and the options are much bigger than before. Also the items are now separated. You will see the same design change in the home screen menu as well. Google Widget is now thicker with bigger icons. Also Google Assistant logo got replaced with a microphone, and the icons support Material You, and that's why they look different after activating themed icons under the wallpaper and the style app. And when you look closely at the app folders, you will see two differences. First, the icons are pushed towards the edge and they float over the folder instead of showing inside the folder. Also the background color is now solid instead of a translucent one. And finally, when you open the folder, you will see more rounded corners. I also noticed the margin between the dock and the Google Widget is now bigger than before. The remove and the uninstall drop targets at the top now look different. They are using a pill-shaped design and they support Material You, which is also the case with the home screen pages. We also got a much bigger drop target for dismissing the picture-in-picture window and bubbles. The widget's resizing handles now support Material You, and when you tap on any of them and then go back to the home screen, the animation is now linked to the widget, which wasn't the case before. And when you try to give a name to your folder, you will no longer see the name suggestions in Gboard. Now let's talk about the new At a Glance widget. The first change is the smaller font, and it's now shifted towards the top left corner instead of being in the center. The weather and date information are now stacked on top of each other instead of being next to each other like before. Also, it's no longer using the full name of the day, it's only using the first 3 letters. And when you tap and hold on it, you will see different options. Previously, we had preferences, which will take you right away to the widget settings page, while now we have customize and feedback. Tapping on Customize will open the normal home settings page, and then you need to tap on the gear icon next to the At a Glance to access its settings. So let's take a look at the differences. First, the options at the bottom are exactly the same, but they have different names and the icons. For instance, Weather Alerts is now called Alerts. Under Upcoming, we have the calendar events and reminders combined together instead of having 2 separate toggles. And finally, we still have the same weather and work profile toggles as before. But we got a whole new section here called Personalization that includes some options. The first one is Location History, which will take you to your Google account, so you can check your history and also deactivate the feature if you want. The second one is called Home and Work. From here you can check your addresses and delete or modify any of them. Finally, we have Sensitive Content on Lock Screen, which will take you to your notification settings to activate sensitive notifications when your phone is locked if you want to. The last thing to show you in the widget is the new stopwatch and timer shortcuts. So for example, here I have a stopwatch and a timer already running. You can see the pagination dots to let you know that you can scroll through them. Tapping on any will take you to the relevant page in the clock app, so you can use it as a shortcut and also keep an eye on the numbers. Also keep in mind, if you have multiple timers running, you can scroll through all of them without any limitation. So I kept adding new ones, and as you see, all of them are showing and the pagination dots are now much longer. You can also dismiss your stopwatch or any of the timers running from your At a Glance widget without stopping them in the clock app. All you need to do is to tap and hold, and then you will see an option to dismiss the timer or stopwatch you have running, and you can keep doing this until you return back to the original At a Glance widget like this. Next, Google Discover now supports Material You in addition to some design tweaks. For example, the profile picture and the snapshot button are now on the right side with the word Google on the other side, and it's no longer using Google colors, however, it's matching the device theme. Also, the app header and the list are now separated by using a different background color and more rounded corners. Now let's take a look at the app drawer. Beside Material You support, you will see a smaller horizontal line that separates between the suggestions and the full list of apps. Also, when you scroll through the letters, you will feel a small haptic feedback with every change, which wasn't the case before. In Android 11, the search bar at the top is exactly the same one we have on the home screen, but in Android 12, this is a new system-wide search that has a different look and more options. Let's start with the ellipsis button, and the first option we have here is called Always Show Keyboard. When activated, every time you swipe up to access your app drawer, the keyboard will be ready for any search query, and instead of tapping the search bar every time. Or you can start scrolling right away to dismiss the keyboard and take a look at your apps. Finally, you can deactivate the option by using the ellipsis again and then choose Always Hide Keyboard. The second option we have is called Preferences, which will take you to the settings page of your system-wide search. From here, you can modify the type of information you want to show in your search results. You have shortcuts, people, settings, and pixel tips. You can access the same settings page from your home screen by going to Home Settings and then go to Search Your Phone. So let's take a quick look at the search results, and I will start by searching for a contact name. The first thing I'm getting is to open a WhatsApp conversation with this person or open the contact itself. Other contacts are giving me the option to place a call or send a message. And finally, we have here an option called Search on Google in case you want to search the web instead. Also keep in mind the search results you get here are personalized, and that's why I'm getting the WhatsApp conversation for this person only instead of placing a call or sending a text, because this is the most common action I take with this contact. Let's try another search query, and in this case I'm typing only the first 3 letters on both versions. From here I can drag and drop the app to my home screen, which is something I cannot do in Android 11. Also, I have here the app shortcuts for multiple apps. I have it for camera, for WhatsApp, Instagram, and so on. From here I can also drag and drop the shortcuts to my home screen if I want, like this. And finally, when you start typing a search, you will see a highlight on the first app. If you didn't complete your search query and then tap the enter key, it will open the highlighted app right away. It can also search for conversations in third-party apps. Here is WhatsApp and another one in Telegram, in addition to the native messaging app. It can search your settings with the ability to modify your options directly from here, like turning the Wi-Fi on or off. It can show you results from pixel tips, Google Assistant settings, type the contact name to send an email, and more. The only 2 things it's missing is searching for photos or apps on Google Play Store. The last thing I'm going to show you in this chapter is the redesigned suggestions page under Home Settings. First, it got much bigger toggles and font, and everything is pushed down. And when you tap on blocked apps, you will get a separate page instead of a floating card like before. Also, the save option is now located at the top right corner instead of being at the bottom, and the cancel button has been removed and replaced with a back button. So that's everything new we got in the home screen. Let's move on to the recent apps screen. The first change we got is the new drag and drop feature. If there is something that can be shared, like a web page for example, you will see a link button at the top right corner. You can tap on it to copy or share using the normal share sheet, or you can simply drag the icon and drop it over any of the recent contacts or apps showing below. You also have the more option to get the normal share sheet if you want. The feature also works with YouTube videos, YouTube video thumbnails, images in web pages, and Google Photos. The second change is the app icons now float over the app preview page instead of being attached to it, and the menu got redesigned as well to match the same design we saw in the app shortcuts. And your apps will keep running normally in the preview page even when you scroll away from them. And finally, it supports Material You by using a solid background color that matches the device theme instead of a translucent background like in Android 11. Now let's talk about widgets. I will start with the new widgets picker. First, it has more rounded corners and shapes, new section for suggestions, bigger font, and a search bar to quickly locate the ones you want. Each app got its own section that you can expand or collapse. The widgets are stacked on top of each other instead of being next to each other like before. In contrast, shortcuts are placed in a grid of 3 columns. And finally, you will get a haptic feedback with every letter change when you drag your finger over the scroll bar. With Android 12, the widgets got a complete redesign, and there are plenty of them. Let's start with the clock. Now we have a total of 5 widgets, but there are some hidden ones. For example, when you add the analog clock to your home screen, you will see a new window with 4 different designs to choose from, and here's how they look side by side. All of them look great, and you can make them as tiny as an app icon or as big as the entire screen, which is very flexible. The second one is called Digital, and it has two different designs, a solid and a transparent background. The third one is called Stacked. It looks very similar to Digital, but it has a vertical orientation and it shares the same solid and transparent designs. The fourth is called World because it supports multiple clocks. You can add as many as you want in the clock app, and the bigger the size, the more clocks it will show. And it also shares the same solid and transparent designs. There is one more stopwatch widget with a play button to start, a reset and lap buttons at the top right corner, but when you make it smaller, it will only show one button that doubles as a lap and reset based on the state. Next, we got a couple of new weather widgets listed under the Google app. The first one is the same we saw since the announcement of Android 12, and finally it's here. But I found it to be much bigger than what I thought, and unfortunately it doesn't support resizing, so we will be stuck with this size at least for now. The second one is a rounded square, but it has more info and it doesn't support resizing as well. Next, Google Maps got a new widget that can show up to 4 quick shortcuts based on the size. The first two are the home and work locations. Tapping on any will show the directions right away in Google Maps. The other two shortcuts are for nearby restaurants and nearest gas stations. I'm not sure yet if these shortcuts can be personalized or not, but for now I couldn't find any signs for editing them. And finally, it can take you right away to the search in Google Maps. All other widgets are exactly the same since Beta 5, and I already talked about them in my previous videos, but let me show you a quick demo. A couple of things worth mentioning about widgets before ending this chapter. If the widget itself can be edited, you will see a small edit button at the bottom right corner when you tap and hold on it. In this case, it will allow me to change the style of my clock widget. In other cases, like the conversation widget, for example, I can link it to a different one. And finally, in case of Google Drive, I can link my widget to a different Google account, and so on and so forth. Also, the drop targets at the top will look different. So for example, the first one looks like a settings icon, and when you hold your widget on top of it, it will show you a text saying tap to finish setup, and when you drop it here, it will do exactly the same thing as if you tapped on edit. And the second one is self-explanatory. It's just an X to remove your widget from here. Now let's talk about the notifications shade, as it got redesigned from the ground up. Now it fills the entire screen with a solid background color instead of being translucent like in Android 11. The quick setting styles are using a pill-shaped design, and they support Material You adaptive theming. The first swipe will reveal 4 tiles, with the second swipe doubling the number to 8. Obviously, with Android 12, everything is dramatically bigger than before. You get bigger tiles, brightness slider, and buttons. The quick settings area uses a black background color regardless you are on light or dark theme, which is the opposite to the notifications. Let's expand the quick settings again to see more differences. Right after expanding, if any of the names doesn't fit in the text field, it will nicely animate to show you the full text. At the bottom, you will see a redesigned edit and settings buttons, along with a new virtual power button that acts as the physical one. It only gives the basic power options because Google decided to remove Google Pay cards and the smart home controls from the power menu and replace them with 2 new tiles. The first one is device controls, which will open the same controls we used to have under the power menu in Android 11. The second one is Google Pay. It shows a thumbnail of your default card along with the last 4 digits. Tapping on it will show you the full list, so you can choose the one you want and make your payment. By this, you will get all the options we used to have under one menu, but in separate places, which is honestly I'm not a big fan of. But there are other tiles that do enhance the experience, like the new internet tile. Tapping on it will open a card at the bottom of the screen. From here, you can toggle your Wi-Fi and cellular data connections, choose a different Wi-Fi network, access your current Wi-Fi network settings, or tap on See All to jump right away to the internet settings page for more options, which is something you can also do by tapping and holding on the tile. Next, we got the camera and the mic access tiles. Both can block your sensors for all apps at once, even if you granted permissions to them before. By this, when you open any app that requires access, you will get a message asking you if you want to unblock. Not to mention that with Android 12, we got the new camera and the mic access indicators that appear at the top right corner as a green dot. And when you expand the notifications shade, you will see a bigger icon. Tapping on it will show you the app name and which sensors are being used. There is also a new alarm tile to quickly set a new one, see your upcoming alarm, or jump to the alarm page in the clock app. Last but not least, there is one more tile called Extra Dim. This one will lower your screen brightness by the amount you have set under settings, which is a new accessibility feature in Android 12 that I'm gonna talk about later. Beside the tiles in Android 12, if you have an active call, you will see a small chip at the top left corner that shows the call duration, which can take you back to the call page. Or you can expand the notifications shade to get quick access to some controls like the speaker, mute, or hang up, and instead of getting the floating bubble like in Android 11. The last thing to show you in the quick settings area is the redesigned media controls. They are shorter with more rounded corners. Google dropped the app name to give more space for the album art, with the app icon showing at the bottom right corner. The background color is no longer matching the album art, but it will stick to your device theme instead. And finally, tapping and holding on it will show you redesigned buttons and centered text. Now let's talk about the notifications area. First, the conversations and notifications titles have been removed and related notifications are grouped in separate sections, while the silent title remains as it is. The notifications themselves are now smaller with more rounded corners. The drop-down arrow is slightly smaller as well with a fill color around it. The app icons are bigger and they also use a fill color that matches the app logo. In landscape mode, they are smaller and centered instead of filling the entire width. Each and every notification has a snooze button to quickly take the action. Previously, to do the same, you need to half swipe to reveal the option, which is something we no longer have in Android 12. Replying back to messages will give you a smaller text field with a pill-shaped design. In contrast, the smart replies now use rounded rectangles instead of the pill-shaped design like in Android 11. When you scroll through your notifications, they float over the quick settings area for a full screen view, which wasn't the case before. So that's pretty much everything new we got in the notifications shade. Everything I mentioned so far is more related to the design, so let's talk about some functional changes. I will start with the long screenshots. Now on Android 12, when you open any app and then use the key combination to take a screenshot, you will see a new Capture More button. Tapping on it will capture around 3 pages from the app, and it will give you some handles to crop your image. And when you try to crop vertically, you will see a new magnifying tool that will help you precisely select the part you want. From here, you can also cancel the whole thing without saving anything to your gallery, or you can save the screenshot only. You can also share it directly from here. And finally, tap on the edit button to take it to the markup app to apply more edits if you want. But keep in mind, when you try to take a screenshot from the recent apps screen, it will not activate the Capture More feature. You have to use the physical buttons instead. And when it comes to Google Chrome, even when I use the physical keys, it will not trigger the Capture More button because Google Chrome has its own interface for taking long screenshots. You can access this by tapping the 3 dots at the top right corner and then tap on Share. And you will see here a new item called Long Screenshot. When you tap on it, you will get a separate interface inside the app that will allow you to capture as many pages as you want. It's not limited to 3 pages only like we saw in other apps. And once you are done with the selection, you can tap the tick sign, and from here you can crop again if you want. You can add some text, and finally you can add some drawing. And once you finish, you can tap on Next, and then you can share the screenshot, save it to device, or delete it right away. The screenshot interface also looks different in Android 12. So when you take a screenshot, you will see more rounded corners for the thumbnail. The share and the edit text are no longer showing. You can only see the icons. Now you can dismiss your screenshot by swiping to any of the sides, and that's why we no longer have the X button at the top right corner like in Android 11. And when it comes to the markup app, you will see some differences in the design and features. First, all the buttons are now placed differently. It got material you support, and we have a new text editor here to add any text we want. We can change the color, the font, and also we have an eraser here to remove anything we added later. Next, the picture-in-picture. And the first change is the more rounded corners to match Android 12 design language. You can also use the pinch to zoom gesture to resize your window, and with Android 12 we got more sizes to choose from, so you can make it very small like this one or as big as the entire width of the screen. You can also use the double tap to zoom in and out really quick, plus you can dock it to any of the sides to make it less distracting, and then drag it back to the middle if you want to continue watching. Next, the new gaming dashboard of Android 12. If you're already familiar with the feature, there is no difference here after the official release. It works exactly the same as before in beta versions. And to access the feature, you need to go to notifications and then do not disturb, then schedules, and you will see here a new option called gaming. When you tap the gear icon next to it, you will see two new toggles. The first one is called the game dashboard to activate the feature, and the second one to activate do not disturb once you start playing a game. Once you activate both toggles and then start a new game like Asphalt 9 for example, you should see a floating button on the screen. But because this feature is buggy for now, you will not see it right away. You might need to switch between apps like this, and then you will see the floating bubble showing on the side. When you tap on it, it will reveal the shortcuts that you can activate by tapping on the gamepad icon. From here, you can activate or deactivate all these shortcuts. The first one is to take a screenshot. The second one is to start a screen recording. And finally, the FPS count. You can also activate the Do Not Disturb for games from here, in addition to starting a YouTube live stream and play your game while streaming. Also, the optimization options are still not available even after the final release of Android 12, so maybe this is something that we will see in the future, but for now it's exactly the same like in beta versions. Next, the new privacy dashboard. Now when you go to settings, then privacy dashboard, you will be able to tell the apps that used your camera, microphone, and location for the past 24 hours. The chart at the top will give you an initial comparison between the usage of each sensor, but if you want to get a detailed view, then you need to tap on the menu item itself. In case of location, for example, you will be able to see the name of the apps that used your location, how many times, and at what time exactly. From here, you can also tap the ellipsis button at the top right corner and include system apps. So when I do this, now I have Bluetooth, Google Play services, and more. If I want to modify the permissions, I can tap on Manage Permissions right here, and it will take me to the permissions page of the location, so I can allow or deny any of the apps I want. And that's exactly the case under camera and also under microphone. Under the main page, there is a refresh button at the top right corner to quickly update your data, and also you can tap the ellipsis button to show system usage, similar to what we saw in other pages. Under the main permissions, there is an option called See Other Permissions that includes the calendar, call logs, contacts, files and media, nearby devices, phone, physical activity, and SMS. None of these will give you the same detailed view we saw under the location, microphone, or camera, but it will simply take you to the permissions page to modify the access for your apps in case you need to. And when you expand the other permissions section in the main page, it will add a fourth item to the chart called Other that combines all of them. Next, the new Quick Tap feature. It's located under Settings, System, Gestures, then Quick Tap. This feature will allow you to assign the double tap gesture on the back of your phone to do certain actions like take a screenshot, access your digital assistant, play or pause media, see recent apps, show notifications, or assign it to any app of your choice. Next, to open app, there is a gear icon that will allow you to modify your selection. You can use it to open any of the apps on your phone, but some of them will give you extra options, and in this case, you will see a gear icon next to them. Let's say calendar. When you tap the gear icon, in this case, you can use it to open the app, create a new reminder, new event, or new task. The last option we have here is called require stronger taps, which will simply decrease the sensitivity. You can use this one just in case you found yourself accidentally triggering the feature. From this page, you can also test the sensitivity without triggering the action. You can do this by double tapping the back of your phone, and if it detected a quick tap, it will tell you in a toast notification. So you can try it with and without the stronger taps option and see which one works the best for you. Next, in Android 12, now you can use your power button to trigger Google Assistant. To activate the feature, you need to go to the same gestures page and then scroll down until you find press and hold power button. When you go inside, you will see an option called Hold for Assistant. Once activated, now your power button will trigger Google Assistant, and in this case you can rely on the virtual power button in the quick settings area for the power options. But there is another option to access your power menu in this case. Once I activated the feature, when you take a look at the description, it says, for power and emergency menu, press power and volume up at the same time, which means when I do this, I'm getting also my power menu that way. Also keep in mind when you activate the Hold for Assistant, you will no longer get the prevent ringing feature. So for example, if it's turned off and then you press the volume up and the power key together, your phone will be set to vibrate or silent. However, if it's turned on, this will no longer happen. And the option will be disabled under the sound menu. So when you go to sound and vibration, and then scroll down until you find shortcut to prevent ringing, now the option is grayed out. Under gestures, you can also turn off the swipe for Google Assistant, and you can do this by going to System Navigation and then tap the gear icon next to Gesture Navigation. From here, you will find a new toggle called Swipe to Invoke Assistant that you can turn off, and by this, it will stop working. Next, the Auto Rotate got a new face recognition feature, which will improve its accuracy. So let me show you how to activate it. All you need to do is to go to Settings and then Display, then Auto Rotate Screen. And once you turn on the switch, you will see another one here called Enable Face Detection. And as per the description, it says face detection using the front-facing camera to improve auto-rotate accuracy. And it also says images are never restored or sent to Google. In a nutshell, this feature will use the front-facing camera to detect your face orientation and match the screen accordingly to avoid any unwanted rotations. Next, the new one-handed mode, which is also available under gestures. When you go inside, it will show you how it works. You simply need to swipe down from the edge of the screen to pull everything down into reach, and you can also set it to show your notifications, and in this case it will expand your notifications shade instead. You can also activate a floating shortcut that you can use instead of swiping down on the edge of the screen. Next, we got redesigned volume controls in Android 12. First, they are much thicker than before. They support Material You, and you will get a nice animation when you switch between different sound profiles. The three dots will give you access to the sound and vibration card. And finally, the caption button is now circular instead of using a rounded square like before. Next, location settings. And now when you try to give access to your location to any of the apps, you will get a card asking you if you want to share your precise or approximate location. You can also access the same option under settings, then location, open the app you want, and you will see a toggle here says use precise location that you can turn on or off. Next, we have a new safety and emergency menu item under settings that will give you access to the personal safety options instead of accessing them from the app. We also got a new option here called Emergency SOS, which will do three things. When you press the power button 5 times quickly, it will call the emergency services, share your info with emergency contacts, and record a video. You need to activate the feature for the first time by tapping on Start Setup. And here it will ask you, would you like to play an alarm or don't play an alarm with the countdown? Then tap on Next. And here you can choose your emergency services, and you can change the number if you want based on your country. And then you can choose to share your info with the emergency contacts. So you can start setup and choose your emergency contacts, then tap on Next. Finally, you can choose to record a video and then tap on Start Setup, then tap on Turn On, and everything will be activated. This is how the emergency SOS page will look like after activation. It will give you the same options we went through during the setup to modify them later, but let me tell you more information about the record emergency video feature. In case of emergency, this feature will keep recording videos up to 45 minutes per video or until you stop it yourself. You can use your phone normally while recording, then it will back up your videos to your Google account and the personal safety app, but it requires an internet connection. The video size is about 10 megabytes per minute. The videos are compressed but without losing quality. And finally, you need to be aware that this feature might send your videos to your emergency contacts, so you are responsible for this. You can access your videos later from here. You can also activate the auto share feature, which will automatically send the link to your emergency contacts to download the videos after backing up. Next, we got some new changes under network and internet. Now when you go inside, you will see one internet menu item that includes your Wi-Fi and cellular data settings together. From here, you can refresh all your data connections by using this button at the top right corner, and when you do this, it will switch all your data connections off and then back on just for refreshing. You can get a quick access to your cellular data settings from here, and also when you tap on it, it will disconnect from your current Wi-Fi network and only use cellular data, and you can do it the other way around as well. Now you can also share your Wi-Fi password using Nearby Share by tapping on Settings and then Share. Authenticate using your fingerprint and you will find the nearby option right here. Another new menu item we got under network and internet called calls and SMS, but unfortunately when I go inside everything is grayed out. Maybe it's available in other countries, so you can give it a try. The mobile network option is now called SIMs and it got some extra features. The first one is the ability to turn off your SIM card, and by this you can refresh your cellular data network without the need to use the airplane mode and to stop your other connections like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. And here you will also see the same calls and SMS preferences we saw in a separate menu item before, but they are combined under the same page. Next, under connected devices, then connection preferences and NFC, now we have a toggle called require device unlock for NFC, which means the NFC will never work as far as your device is locked. Next, the battery page got a complete redesign. The battery icon got replaced with a bar, the percentage font is much bigger than before, and we no longer have the banner that says apps work normally. You can access your battery usage directly from here instead of using the ellipsis button like before, and when you go inside you will see a redesigned graph. And the usage is no longer based on the last full charge, but instead it will show you the past 24 hours. The items listed under battery usage are now categorized. The first one is called app usage, which includes your normal apps, and when you scroll all the way down you will see another one called system usage that you can expand to see more. It includes the screen on time that we used to have under the main page, in addition to Wi-Fi, phone idle, ambient display, and other system services. Next, the apps and notifications menu item is now separated, so you get one for apps and one for notifications. And under notifications, there is a new menu item here called app settings. From here, you can turn off all notifications at once for certain apps using these toggles. And at the top, you have a lot of filters. You have most recent, most frequent, all apps, and turned off. Under the conversation settings, there is a new button that will allow you to clear all your recent conversations at once. Under system and then reset options, now we have the ability to erase all downloaded SIMs at once. Next, under sound and vibration and then media, you will see two new toggles. The first one is called Pin Media Player. This one will keep the media controls in your quick settings area to quickly resume playback, and the second one is called Show Media Recommendations. I didn't get any recommendations after activating this toggle, so let's wait and see what's gonna happen in the future. Android 12 also got 3 new charging animations, and I have a screen recording for each one. This is how it looks when you charge your phone using the wire, another one for wireless charging, and finally when your phone is powered off. So that's pretty much it for today. Those are all the new changes I spotted in Android 12, so please let me know in the comments if I missed anything. And in case if I spotted any more features, I will create a follow-up video, so stay tuned for that. So I hope you like my video, and if you do, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe for more videos. Thank you for watching.